All right, so we should be live right now, but before we kind of get this thing underway, I guess I'm gonna kind of have you do two tasks. I'll make it like I'll ask you one question, I'll ask you the next question. So first off, is there anything that you want to plug or anybody you want to shout out?
In the beginning?
Yeah. I always do in the beginning.
No, I just want to say shout out to the athletes working hard for their dreams. Let's continue to stay educated, be informed about chasing, this pro journey, and yeah, that's all I want to say.
Yeah, and yeah, I started doing it in the beginning because I feel like it's better to end it off like with maybe more of a question than a shout out kind of thing. It's like just start it off like if you gotta plug anything, just let's get it over with now. Then also for people that may not know who you are that are watching this thing, can you kind of give them like a brief introduction about yourself and your job and everything?
Yeah, so my name is Shea Dawson. I'm head of athlete relations at Overtime. I'm a huge player advocate. I've been, in the advocacy business for about 14 plus years. I was a high school coach. I was a basketball player. Helped raise two of my brothers through the game as well. And it's just one of those things where I'm passionate about information and education, because I think if you know better, you do better. And I think that's what's needed in the world of sports. I particularly work with men's basketball players because of my brothers. Of course, I support my women and lend my voice to them as well. Like I said, used to be a women's basketball coach. But really, I think in the money-making business of men's sports, I just really have a passion for that because, I grew up with a single mom and we didn't have much information and education early on. And so we made some stumbles, but learned a lot since then and love to pass that information on to other young men out there.
Definitely. And before we, I guess, kind of get into some more just like randomish questions, like a good question to more like start it off, just because everyone's journey is different. It's a basic one, but like, again, it's always going to give me a different response every time. So that's why I ask it, like, what, got, like, when did you realize, like, oh, I really want to help out people and be, kind of in charge of like the off court decisions and everything like that with athletes?
Well, I used to, I love being a sister, a big sister to brothers. I love it. Always been comfortable around boys my whole life. I've played on an all boys team growing up. My mom put me on an all boys team. My uncle was the coach, took my lumps and kind of just, I feel like I understand a lot of what they go through. And I know that I'm passionate about it. So I would say being a big sister to a brother named Malcolm Thomas and then Mikey Williams. I think though they just gave me the passion behind it and learning about the business. But I would say when my brother was at San Diego State and I saw the power of how the mid-major was basically building momentum with Kawhi Leonard on the team and Billy White and all these other great players, they all, depended on me for information. Shea, where should I go? All these coaches, like they started to find that they could have value in just talking to me every day. And then I started to see that my information was actually transforming lives. So I was like, oh, this is great. And then my brother went into the draft process. And 2011, that's when the lockout happened. So again, we had to figure it out again. So not only did we have to figure out what college he was going to, what agent he was going to sign with, now we had to figure out what was best. He ended up going to Korea that year during the lockout and making a lot of money. And so that's when I realized the light went on. And started to realize that players need someone with them to help them make these hard decisions, someone that has vetted information. And so having a lot of connects, I just called around and asked a lot of people what to do. And even when my brother had an agent, sometimes I had to back channel that. So I found that it's a cool puzzle. And then to see it come out on the back end and see my brother benefit from it, I thought that was super cool.
And you bring up like the agent and everything like that. First things first, like, do you ever think like why not? Why wouldn't you just be their agent and stuff like that? That's something common too. Like the families are then the agents. So was that something like you ever considered? And why aren't you kind of representing your brothers like with the title of an agent?
Yeah, I think the agency business is so competitive, and sometimes it feels like a blood sport, and that's just not where my heart is. I'm kind of a rainbows and sunshine person. I don't have a super competitive nature when it comes to business in that way. I do like to win, but not at all costs. I just truly am about the person and wellness just I just want to make sure the person is okay, because that's where I thrive in. I think that's just part of my personality. So it just didn't fit me and who I am. And also, I don't chase money. And so, when you're an agent, you're always trying to find that next big deal. And I just don't want that to be something I'm thinking about every single day. And so I think I'm competitive on the back end when it comes to just going hard for my family. You know what I mean? And I think if it's not rooted in my family, then I don't want to do it. So I think that's why, but also it's just not my personality, and the business can be really, really competitive. And I've never seen agents sit down and have dinner together or drink together. And I'm a communal person. I love human connection, and I don't want to be on an island by myself. So.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of like, so actually being agents, one of, like, I guess you could say, if I had to pick like some of my dream jobs in sports, that would definitely be one of them. However, I'm kind of glad because I'm learning everything right now. Like, I'm glad I just heard this because I am definitely much more of a rainbows and sunshines kind of guy, compared to, like, I basically will lose in anything I do. In terms of like athletic sports stuff, not in terms of like, like, and I couldn't care less. Like, I'm just happy to be there. That's just who I am. So would you say, but then also in terms of like, of course, like I want to provide for a family. Like, would you say that basically being the head of athlete relations and kind of having more of that job title, is that basically like in a way being an agent? Just like kind of you said, you could have more of that happy sunshine, gumdrops, and rainbows kind of attitude.
Yeah, definitely. It's just a position that allows me to touch all different sports, all different types of athletes. Although my main focus is in the men's lane, but I really get to advocate and talk to a bunch of young ladies. I can work in football, I can work in lacrosse, I can work in tennis. Anything that is super interesting and that is uplifting for athletes, I can have a part in. And I think that's the exciting part. Is one of the reasons why I left the NBA was because I only could work with a particular type of athlete. And I saw that, there was just a gap in information, and I wanted to build that bridge. And that's what we're finally doing at Overtime. And it's kind of crazy how, you put something out in the universe, you're intentional about something, and then it actually comes to fruition. So I like I said, I'm a woman of the people. And that's what I love about, being the head of athlete relations at Overtime, is just touching all sectors and even working with my amazing colleagues. I get to, have, an eye and ear and hand in content. I get to do that in sales and brand partnerships. And I literally can be in all spaces. And I just really love being a chameleon in all those spaces. So it's been really cool.
Yeah, and that definitely sounds like a lot of fun for sure. And I'm actually I'm not obviously the same age as you, but I'm actually a big brother as well. I wouldn't say I'm as much of a parent as at least to my sister. I tried getting her. I wanted her to play basketball a couple years ago. I'm like, I'll make you so good, but couldn't get her into it. I tried talking to her, and she's like, no, no, no. So whatever. But my little brother, very, very good soccer player. I don't really like want to brag too much, so I don't want to say what's going on with him, but he's definitely on a good path right now. He's 11, but he's definitely on a very, very good path. And I guess since I'm not a good athlete, like I've always wanted to be an athlete. Like I'm almost living my dream life through him in a way. And it's been a lot of fun just kind of seeing him do all this stuff. Like I just find it so cool. And he said like he didn't want me to go to this like game with him because he was like, oh, you be going crazy. Like you gotta learn how to play it cool sometimes because I don't know. I just love like kind of seeing the life he lives and everything like that. So would you say like for a guy like Mikey Williams, who I guess you have a really strong I guess family relationship with, is that kind of something you do in a way too, just as a big sister, like whatever maybe dreams you had that you somehow couldn't accomplish, like you're like, hey, like maybe do this instead?
So it's kind of crazy. I don't live through them. I really, I was an athlete. I was really good. I just did not want to pursue being a pro. I didn't see how it worked for me. I didn't see going overseas. I don't think I was good enough to play in the WNBA. But also, like I said, I was just more drawn to helping people. And so leaving and not being able to help my family or be there for my family, I just thought, not for me. Don't want to make $1,500 and come back and just to say I played sports and I was a professional. I just don't believe in titles like that. When it comes to certain things, like it's a title, but it's not what you do. So like I always knew basketball was something that I did, but it's just not who I was. And so as I got older, I started to drift from that identity of being an athlete. Um, yeah, so I would say I don't live through them. I just want them to be the best they want to be. And if I sense that they don't want it anymore, I say let's do something else. Let's figure out something else. So I just want the best. It's so nervous too, so nerve wracking. I can't watch their games in real time, and every time I go in person, I feel like I jinx it. So I have to be very strategic and very like superstitious when I do attend games. I could go to a lot of the games now. Like I could travel overseas to see my brother, or go to Mikey's games, but I just feel like I got to let it happen, and I don't want to be overbearing. So I just pray really hard that they do well and that they're happy and that they are doing all the things that they want to do. So, and the media is just really crazy. And so I try not to read all that stuff. I just try to stay in a calm place. And, I debrief with them after. How did it go? How did you feel? What did you do before? Ask a lot of questions and just try to connect with them off the court, which is like part of my job. And I just keep it there. And basketball is just kind of something that they do, but I also mind that that's not who you are. So if it's ever causing you any anguish or mental instability, then we need to take a break and we need to recalibrate and decide if this is what you want to do, because, you're talented, you're smart. Both of my brothers are really amazing people, and they dress really well. They have an eye for fashion and art, and they love video games. They love music. They actually have an ear for music, good music. And then also they pick out great movies. So.
Yeah, well, I guess I wouldn't say like if I guess I'm basically living my dreams with my brother. However, if he said like I don't want to do this, like I'm not gonna I'm not like that. I'm not gonna force him like into doing anything he doesn't want to do. But it's like I never said like play a sport when he was born. Like he just chose to play the sport. So but definitely like if he's gonna keep doing it, like I'm whatever he does, like I'm living like my dream kind of with him in a way. But of course, like if he's gonna back out of it, like I doubt my mom would even let me like tell him like no, like keep playing. So I don't think I would have too much of a say in that. But I'm curious, like I feel like I'm assuming, does your job have like do you at all get like a sports psychology degree or something like that? Because it seems like that would be maybe similar to what you do in a way.
It's kind of interesting. So no, I don't have a sports psychology degree, but I am obsessed with psychology, and I read tons of psychology books. I read tons of books about health and wellness and mental stability and trauma, war, like all kinds of things that I think just give you kind of an insight on human beings and behavior. So a lot of psychology does go into the role that I do, for sure, because I have to be stable myself if I'm going to be giving advice or using my energy to help others. And I think part of what I do is I'm constantly always like an energetic person, and I think that fills up people and fills up a room. And so if I'm not well, then I can't do my job really well. And so yeah, I think there's an element of psychology. I actually am thinking about possibly getting some kind of formal education when it comes to that. I think it could take my position to another level. But again, I like to do things that are organic. So right now there's a lot of things going on in my life that I don't have time to do it, but it's definitely on my mind. So whenever there's probably a pocket where things calm down, hopefully they do calm down, that I could get some kind of formal education when it comes to that, because there's definitely a lot of psychology that has to do with this role.
So I guess if I was telling myself like, oh, I want to be the next Shea Dawson, I guess like maybe, but I'm in college and my life isn't too busy where I'm able to, like I could go get a degree. Would you say like, oh, you're trying to do what I want to do? I definitely recommend a sports psychology or some sort of a psychology degree.
I would say if I could do it all over again, I would get a degree in business. I think what I do now has nothing to do with my education. It has to do with the type of person that I want to be and the type of person that I am intentional about being. So I really enjoy giving everyone the best experience possible that they can have. So I created what's called the Shea Dawson experience, which is the best possible human experience one can have person to person. So every single day I wake up, I make sure that I'm not impeding on someone's territory. I make sure that I'm trying not to inconvenience people. I'm making sure that I'm closing the loops on things. I'm constantly sowing good seeds. And so I think that has to do with where, I've been able to go in life. Sports just happened to be something that I played when I was a kid. And I think it just kind of coupled itself. So I would say be a good person, an amazing person, the best person you can be. And then I would say go get a a business degree and learn about business. If you know about business, you can always help athletes. Athletes are a business and they need help, navigating where those things fall in place. Their passions, where they lie, and everything comes down to, dollars to make a sustainable lifestyle so that you don't have to worry about those things and you can help other people and you can fill other people up. So I would say business and be a great person and you can be a better Shea.
Yeah. Do you think before I ask my next question, do you think you could refresh your page because you're like freezing up just a couple of times? I don't want to like miss anything. Yeah, I'm gonna assume she heard me because she just froze up. But yeah, guys, I'm just letting you know. Let's see. I don't. Yeah, if you could just refresh your page on there's like a refresh button tab like anything else.
Yeah, hold on 1 second.
All right, sounds good.
Hold on 1 second. Is it okay if I use my computer? I gotta switch over, or will that mess this up?
Yeah, that works. If you want, I can email you the link.
Okay, I'll just click the link. All right, I'm gonna use my computer because my phone's dying. I think
All
that's
right.
why.
Yep, all good.
All right.
All right, guys. While she does that, I'm just gonna actually, I don't know. I gotta pick. I don't know if you guys want to just see me, just stare at me while I'm on my phone waiting, or if you'd rather just look at a black screen. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm actually in my drama class right now. But yeah, that's not like we're doing anything. That's what I'm doing currently. She's definitely a very, very interesting person to interview. She's I guess at least a decently sized role with Overtime Elite, which for the guys that may not know what that is basically an up and coming league through the Overtime brand, where kind of like the G League thing, like these guys are now going to basically finish out their high school careers being pros or like mini pros in a way, and actually a couple players that I know on a little more of a personal level. I'm not good friends with them or anything, but I've interviewed all four of them, all from the South Florida area: Matt Bewley, Ryan Bewley, and Asar Thompson. They have all signed with the league, so they'll be competing with them. But basically, the way I kind of understand her role is, she's kind of deals like anything like off court. The athletes like probably gives them a lot of advice, stuff like that. Which for me personally is something that I am definitely interested in. But yeah, so I mean, if you guys are interested in working in sports and you don't really know what you want to do exactly, this is for sure an industry and a route you could take that I honestly didn't even know existed. So I was looking forward to kind of hearing the rest about her journey. And yeah, just stay tuned, guys, and she should be back shortly. All right.
Can you hear me?
Yep. I can hear you good.
All right, awesome.
Yeah. At the end of that question, it was sounding like, like not like a robot, but it was like going like it's slightly like a robotic sound. It was slightly
my phone was dying.
Yeah. No worries. I definitely understand about that. But I guess I'm trying to see. Yeah, sorry. I'm like, I don't know why the kids in my drama class are going like crazy right now. All like the ones that are very involved. And I think we had like a show thing yesterday. I have to pull up a clip of me, so I just got very tense for a second. But luckily it's not happening right now. But I want to know like your path to get into the league. Like even though you said you'd ought to do something, I guess more than that, like maybe more broad, like saying I worked in the NBA or I work in the NBA. And you can even say I'm in the league, basically, because I mean, in my interpretation, that can mean many different things. Like that's a big deal and a dream to many people. So, what was your pathway to just getting there?
Yeah, it definitely was my dream job at the time. I woke up every morning like super excited to go to work, and sometimes I didn't sleep. But I would say my path to getting there it started with what I call my year of yes. When I started saying yes to everything in the universe and not blocking my own blessings. I started to verbalize what I wanted to the universe. I started telling people.
Oh my, they are showing me. That's crazy. Yo, wait, I'm gonna butt in right now.
Okay.
Yo, why are you showing me on camera? Let's see. I want to know what they say. I just love messing around with my class. Wait. I don't know what they say. I think it's someone's mom took a video and posted it.
This is hilarious.
Yeah, I'm very look. There's all like talking on my class right now.
I love that you're in class.
Yeah. I know. It's because I knew I wasn't gonna do anything, but I'm like if I wasn't in the class, I'd literally be on my phone right now while we're doing this. So that's sorry. Might as well be like a little productive, but that was very very interesting. I was like my friend and I, we were like the host of our thing. And we were like very creative, and I guess one of the things I did, one of our little skits, because the song we were introducing the song like "You Will Be Found" or something like that. So I was like sitting in the audience, and I put like a hoodie on and put glasses on, and just put my hood over. I was just sitting there, and my friends like, "Oh, like where's Isaac?" And then I just got up and awkwardly like walked on the stage, and I guess it was the highlight of.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. I always love. I've been in drama for a while. I just love it's just I'm not like into it like. These kids are. I'm not like kind of weird like them, but like it's always fun to perform and just entertain people for sure. But anyways, could you go back to the whole leak thing? Sorry, I got very
no worries. So like I said, I went through what's called a year of yes, where I started to just say yes to everything in the universe. And when people asked me what I wanted to do, instead of being fearful that they were going to judge me or like kind of shoot my dreams down, I would just say it. And so at the time I was working Pangos All-American Camp, which was a ton of great pros came out of there that I got to work with, some being John Wall, DeAndre Ayton, Hamidou Diallo. Like a lot of those players started to go to the NBA. And I was like, wait, hold on. Like I was a stop before they got to the NBA. And like, we had good relationships, they, asked me, about certain things in the industry, who's who and stuff like that. So I started to say, well, maybe I could go to the NBA as well and work in the NBA. So I started doing my research on just like who is in the NBA and what jobs they have or whatever. And so I ended up getting an internship at NBA Summer League. So I was like, oh, it's starting to happen. I'm manifesting it. And so, so I did the internship at NBA Summer League. And then that catapulted me to meeting GMs and, front office people and started to get to know people in the NBA industry. And then next thing you know, I got a job in the NBA working with athletes like I wanted. So I think just verbalizing that to the universe, doing good work, finding ways to get in no matter what. Being an intern, I was like 30 years old at the time. And being a 30-year-old intern is not something that is, that you want to do when you're 30. You're like, no, I'm supposed to be here. So I just kind of, like I said yes. And then it started all working itself out.
Yeah, it's actually, this is slightly coincidental. So Pangos, they put out a thing, like they were saying, oh, we're looking for interns and everything. I'm actually going on like just a trip over the summer with my sleepaway camp. So I'm not even available anyways. They said, you have to pay for your flight and stuff like that, which obviously, if I was not with my sleepaway camp, I would probably go maybe. And and some guy commented, I don't know why, like people in the media, like there's always like media group chats, like I'm not in one, like I was in a couple, but it's too much spam, so I'm like happy I'm not in any of them. But some of the people are so mean. Like one of the guys that I know, I'm pretty sure is not like one of those group chats. He says like, "Oh, so you're just like taking advantage of these people, like you make all this money, like just pay for them," and use the N word a couple of times and whatever. And they actually said that a whole paragraph, like, no, like our interns, like they get so much experience, like this is life changing stuff. Like I'm sure overtime Shea is this and that. And they actually like shout you out in the comments and everything like that. Like, I just want to I couldn't believe people were saying that.
Yeah, so I mean, I could see how it looks, but at the same time, people have to understand that Pangos All American Camp is not a profitable business. It's a privately owned business by Dino Stragonis, and the money that he gets from his other tournaments, he pours into this tournament for food and hotels, because the players who actually come to the camp don't have to pay for any of that, right? And so that's what the money goes to. And so people have to realize, if you want to work in sports, this is a great opportunity, because you get to meet some of the world's future stars. You could potentially be an agent if you want to, and maybe you have relationships with them. You can potentially, get the eyes, catch the eye of somebody who's there. NBA scouts are going to be there. So It basically, this is a way to get your foot in the door. So in sports, sometimes you have to work for free because most businesses aren't profitable. That's just how it is. So I think if it scares away certain people, then those people aren't fit for that type of job. And they're clearly going to be in it for the wrong reasons. Now, if they're asking you to do it every year after year after year without paying you, no. But if it's your first time and you're asking for an intern to get that experience, this is experience that you can't buy. So I think if I were to say to anybody, it helped me clearly. And so I know it can do the same for other people, especially if you have that go-getter mentality.
Yeah, like it really, I was like in shock. It was kind of funny. Like, I mean, the response back from the camp was like they were pretty. They gave a couple rows. Like they were like show me a big time job in sports / media / coaching / basketball / journalism that requires zero experience. Like whatever. I just couldn't believe the kid would say, I'm pretty sure I know. Like, like I was so in shock. Like out of all people, like this kid comment and everything. I was so surprised, but the one thing though with internships, I would have to admit, like I'm lucky enough where I don't live in a mansion or anything. I live like a normal sized house, but I'm lucky enough where I can do internship things, and obviously it's not going to really affect me or my family. Like I think it's the one thing with internships though. It's like, because I saw a thing from a coach that was actually at Prolific Prep, and he put on his story like some people say, like, I guess, internships are good or whatever, but then it's like, some people really can't afford to do an internship, or you have to get like this job. Like some people just got to really grind for it. Others could kind of take the internship. I think it's the one thing though with internships is if you like need the money, like then you can't kind of take it.
If you need the money, then you shouldn't be doing an internship. You need to get an internship is for experience. I do now in corporate America, if they're offering internships, they obviously, I think it's legally you have to pay them. But like I said, camps like Pangos and things like that, like, tournaments in Vegas where, grassroots teams are coming, like those are privately owned things and those barely have any money. So sometimes you have to say, hey, I can't pay you. I can give you a great experience. I can give you a hotel room. I can give you food. I can give you clothes. If you want to do this, if you don't want to do it and it's offensive to you, then don't do it. But I worked for free for at least 5 years of my career, having to do other things to make, I had to paint houses. I did a lot of stuff to make money to survive. But at the same time, I knew what I wanted to do and I enjoyed doing it. And I met a lot of people and I got a lot out of it. So, I mean, it's one of those things that you have to decide if it's what you want to do or not.
And this is more like a funny-ish question, but I was wondering, like, because I'm not going to lie, I was going to ask, like, so are you like just look like an extremely young person and you're old or what? Because like when you were in the NBA, like I thought you were probably right now like 30 max. So like I was kind of curious, like in the NBA, like I'm assuming you were at least somewhat close in age with a lot of the guys, maybe besides the rookies. So how are you, like, because you were kind of the one like guiding them, and something for me, like if it's like a young kid that obviously is not like a pro or anything like that, like if I'm at let's say a basketball practice, but the team's like of kids from like 10 to 15 and the 10-year-olds like bossing me around, like that's kind of difficult for me to listen to a 10-year-old. So it's like for some of the guys, I'm sure you were, again, at least decently in age with those guys in the NBA, like how are you able to kind of demonstrate like, hey, like trust my advice and everything, even though like we're the same age, so it might not really look like I know a lot, like, I kind of do. How are you able to kind of vocalize that?
That's an amazing question. So a lot of it has to do with your maturity level, right? There's a lot of young players who are mature and understand life, understand how it all works. There are a lot of players who are immature. And so I think my maturity level, no matter, what age, is I'm super professional when I'm in a work environment. I mean, I wasn't always, obviously, when I was younger, trying to figure it out. I was, younger, more playful, but the older you get, the more you understand there's a time and place. And so I'd say my maturity level, but also my track record. I've worked with a lot of NBA players before they were in the NBA. And I think my track record speaks for itself. A lot of those players, they all talk, they all know. And when you know a lot of people, they kind of know your brand, the brand of Shea, is that I'm a solid person. I walk I talk how I walk and walk how I talk. And I would say that, just the brand of the person that I am, I've put out there is just solid. I don't give advice that I basically haven't done before. And if I do give advice on something I haven't done before, I've done extensive research and talked to a ton of people. And then I also, share my vulnerability of like, I have no idea how that works, but let me go find out for you. And they know that I work hard to go find that information and bring that information back. And I never tell people what to do. I only give information. I say, I don't know if this is a good idea because this last person did this and this is how it turned out. You could be different. This could work for you. But I kind of just, like I said, sowing good seeds and just living the way I am communicating and the things that I'm saying. You can check my track record. Like I do, I'm the woman of my word. And so I think that all matters, and the maturity level and the professionalism of who you are kind of helps me. But also, again, having that sister kind of approach. Mm-hmm. Like I'm a caretaker. I've always been like that. And now I'm also at a place in my career where I'm trying to like elevate from that a little bit. I am always going to be a caretaker, but I do want to be taken seriously as a businesswoman. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes my usefulness can kind of negate that, excuse me. And I think that, so now I'm trying to take that more seriously and kind of command more of a gravitas. But I also think that, like I said, I'm rainbows and sunshine. So part of it is never going to go away. But I think just being authentic, being real, being a person of your word and being genuine goes a long way with anybody, not just athletes, but particularly in the athlete space, it's hard to find genuine people in the industry. Mm-hmm. So I think you gotta have a good track record. People got to be able to fact check you and say like, oh, she's good to go or he's good to go, for you to have that impact on those kind of elite athletes.
And is your job is that a common? Because I mean, I literally have never heard like when I said like, because I think your bio says like, former Philadelphia 76ers like player development, but I thought, oh, okay, she was like a trainer, and then you're like, no, I actually was like off court player development. Like I've never heard of that my whole life. Like I mean, I could see why it's useful, but I just never knew that was like a position. So is the job you have, is that like a common job, or is it almost like do some NBA teams not even have that? Yeah, no, every NBA team has at least one person. Some teams have three, some teams have a whole department. It just depends on, what that organization, what their priorities are. If they have one really good person to do all of it, they'll do that. But it's definitely an industry that's growing as well. And people see now athletes talking about mental health. That has kind of triggered like, okay, we need more support in that off-court space, because obviously basketball takes care of itself. But what happens with the other hours in someone's life, mm-hmm. and family, when they're relocating, when they get waived, when they have an apartment, you need someone to just help you transition. You need to know where the DMV is. You need to know what school districts to, live in so you can go to a great school. Like there's a lot of things in life, like I said, that people don't ever talk about or don't know. And I think that's kind of just having a love for people kind of puts you in that direction. And I didn't know that position existed either before I was in the NBA. I kind of created, I guess, a brand that just kind of says that that's what I do. And then so once it started to get popular, someone found me and said, oh, she'd be perfect for that. So
I didn't know, I wasn't working toward that. That just kind of organically happened in my life.
Yeah. What were you doing? Like, was that Pangos camp? Was that kind of like your first kind of big like role like in the industry or no?
Yeah. Yes, it was. It was definitely one of my big roles because it was such high level talent.
Yep.
And working with scouts and NBA people calling me, just a lot of people, college coaches calling me, said, "Hey, you were at Pangos, right? How was, Colin Sexton? How was this person? How was that person?" And I'm just throwing out a name. I didn't.
Yeah. Of course.
I didn't give any information on Colin Sexton, but I'm just saying, like, that's the kind of conversations that I was having on the back end with coaches, and just started to be an information hub for a lot of people because it wasn't an NBA sanctioned event. They could not be in there. There's a lot of people who actually couldn't be in the gym. And so knowing that I was there, knowing that I had a passion, knowing that I knew a lot of people in the industry and athletes, people would just call me and I would just give my raw opinion. I would give my basketball analysis on what I thought and did really well. And one of my highlights is, getting DeAndre Ayton to come to Pangos All-American Camp and seeing where he is now. It's like, it's so like, I don't even know the feeling. I just feel like so proud that he's able to come to Pangos, make a name for himself, go to Arizona, and just really make a splash in the industry.
Yep.
And I literally consider him a brother. And so it's cool to see those kind of interactions happen from those kind of camps.
Yeah, I guess like you could say I'm not the reason why some guys have success, but like there's one player I interviewed, and I remember he said in the interview, like, yeah, like I'm like playing basketball, but then also like I'm playing football because I know like I actually have a lot of potential in it. And he had 0 offers in football and had a few in basketball. And now all of a sudden, starting like last week, he's been getting like offers like at least like 2 a day now for football. Like it's cool. Like again, I'm not the one that is giving them these offers, but it's cool seeing like the few people that I've interviewed, and then now they're blowing up. But there's one guy I interviewed him over probably around like a year ago, or maybe like 10 months ago. Mm-hmm. So he's at 0 offers, and all of a sudden this month he finally picked up his first 2 offers. Like I kind of felt out, proud, even though I did.
Proud, you're so proud, yeah.
I was like very, very like I was like I couldn't, and I'd never seen him play in person, so I really didn't know. I just knew like because he actually like he's a lot of like connections, I guess you could say. So that's kind of who sometimes if the player doesn't have any offers, like I see they know like a lot of legit people. I assume the guy's a legit person. Like he knows like Anthony Edwards, and I think like he might have actually I don't think he played Sharif Cooper, but he knows like Anthony Edwards because he played with him before, and he knows like a lot of people that I know. So I knew he was legit, and he was a great kid, and just went the whole season no offers, but I love talking to him. He was a nice guy, so I wasn't really upset by it. And then all of a sudden I picked up 2 offers, and it was like a really like a proud moment, even though I did nothing. I definitely kind of understand where you were coming from, even though you did do stuff like and I did nothing. Like I feel like we had that same kind of feeling.
Yeah, because you're a part of his journey, and and he's a part of yours.
Mm-hmm.
So it links you guys together on this path, and I think that's the proud feeling that you get. It's just like we, intersected at a time where wasn't sure what was going to happen. Where we going to go? Yeah, so I think that's the magic of it all, and that's I think those are the feelings that you kind of want to continue to have, and I think that's why you do what you do, and so I do what I do too.
Yeah, it really just is super cool. I guess the one tough part is it's like I'm not going to my bold opinion in terms of scouting is I will not do any scouting unless I have seen you play in person. So if somebody asks me like, what do you think of this player, and I've never seen him in person, I'll tell you what I know from him based off what I see on social media, like in terms of like maybe what he puts on his story or stuff like that, like how he's as a character. But in terms of the way he plays, I will not make any claims unless I see them in person, or maybe if I hear like, oh, I play. Actually, maybe not, because that might not be that trustworthy. But if I see them in person, I'll tell you how they play. But if not, I won't. But I want to know, like, were those NBA people, were they asking you like, how did this guy play, or do they more want to know like the off court kind of stuff? Because I've learned like that is actually a very important thing that they want to know, because they're being paid like to coach these players and scout these players, so they know they could play and stuff like that, but they're not being paid to kind of figure out and dissect their brains on how they are off the court and like do a whole off court analysis on them. So is that what they were asking you?
Yeah, so that's another great question, and I think that's a great rule of thumb to live by, is not to just so you can be talking and talking about that player just to guess. It's not good to do that, because it is impactful on what happens to them. So definitely don't want to do that and give misinformation. And I also, if I haven't seen a player, I do not speak on them. But even if I have seen a player, I don't even really elaborate on that because, again, that's not my job. But I just talk about the amazing people that they are, kind of the interesting things that make them different from other players. I always talk about players who have good energy or players who add to the game or add to the team without doing anything, athletically or skill wise, because that kind of stuff is things that people don't realize, that culture matters. And to have good culture pieces on a team really can take your team from being a good team to a great team. So I pride myself on talking about the person, and not necessarily just their athletic ability. But obviously I'll say, yeah, athletic, super long arms or big hands. Like I'll describe things that I know that are valuable that to players, and to teams and agents and stuff like that. But I think, yeah, that's not my job. I really don't do that. I will if I have to, if I've seen a player a lot of times, or if I know a player really well, or if I've actually talked to that player about what they need to work on.
Yep.
I'll say, hey, this person's asking about you. They're asking about this. You probably should focus on that. But yeah, like I don't do the same. I don't talk about players that I don't see. But all of that kind of stuff is super critical. So we should all be aware about how we talk about players during the critical time in their career, which is high school to college, or even college, the middle of college. So
yeah, that's why like I kind of feel like something that I really do have, like, I mean, maybe I probably should put this idea out there, but maybe if I end up like wanting to try something new, maybe I'll do like a scouting page, but like actually no, because then I'd have to like meet everybody, and obviously if I'm like, oh, weakness, like I'm not gonna put out their weaknesses like on Instagram, so I take that back, because that'd be pretty rude if I'm like, oh, the kid's cocky, everyone sees that. So I wouldn't do that. But I think that's like, if I was a scout, or not, if like that would probably be like one of my strengths, like from interviewing and talking to these players and seeing how they are online, like I can tell, one, like who's legit, who's social media obsessed, like, who's like always down about a girl like every single month. Like I can really pick up on all that, the way they talk, like their manners. I mean, just kind of like even like how they walk. Like I feel like it's something I can really pick up on. Like, is that at all like a skill useful to any? Because I'm sure now a lot more jobs than I know. Like, is that at all, like, are there at all like jobs for that, or what?
I think that the more you can humanize players and not make them commodities, I think anytime you can do that, you'll find value in that. And I think you should chase that if that's something you want to do. I know the athletes will definitely appreciate someone speaking positively about them versus negative. And even
I mean, if the people are like I'm not going to, like, if the person's like not a good, like a red flag kind of person,
you just don't cover it. Then you just don't talk about it.
Yeah. But
don't say it.
Yeah, but however, like if someone like, because you also don't want to like jeopardize, like if someone's like, oh, we're really really interested on this player, like he's like a crazy good talent, like what do you know about him? I mean, I don't want to jeopardize now their job.
Right. It's not your job. It's not your job to say he's this, he's that. If it's good, you highlight that. You could say there's a red flag and you can move on. Right? Because we don't know why people are the way they are.
When exactly.
Cocky or things like that, we don't know what does cocky mean, because cocky necessarily is not a bad thing in the NBA. It's not a bad thing, cocky, if you can back up what you're doing on the court. So we just need to all be careful about how we talk, because you have to think about if it was you and I'm going through something and I have a bad day and I, have an outburst to someone and someone goes back and reports to my boss that this is what happened. I would say, please ask me. I will tell you what I went through. So I think that we have to be careful. But like I said, it's important to humanize athletes because they are people and they do go through lots of things that no one talks about, that they can't talk about because the media is so nosy and they're mean and it does contribute to a negative mental health. And I just don't think that, I don't want to be in the business of that. And I don't think you are either, because you said you're literally raising rainbows and sunshine as well.
Yeah.
So I think you can say, hey, and especially if it's live, you would say, I don't know enough to speak about that, but you should do your own research, and you can negate those kind of.
And that is usually like I'm not like the biggest, like I guess I'm confident about certain things, but usually like if I'm not 100% confident on something, like if the guy, let's say, if I've seen this guy 10 times and let's say maybe 2 out of 10 times he like was just like crying for no reason, and the other times he wasn't, like I'd be a little like I usually use my I'm not too sure language a lot, because I'm not always like
say
claims. So yeah,
private, off the record, I would look into this, or there was a red flag when I saw an incident. You can do that. You know what I mean? I think that's That's normal conversation, especially, but you shouldn't be doing it to anybody. You should be doing it to people that you trust, people that you know are good people, because they can write that down and say, hey, let's just be mindful of this part of that person's personality. And that's it. But you don't have to assassinate the character by something that you saw, but you have no understanding behind why that person was acting the way they were acting. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah. Man, I now have another. Actually, all right. I thought I lost a question, but I'm all good. So I'm curious, like, what were you doing at the Pangos camp? Like, what was your exact like job when you were there? Were you like managing their social media? Were they having you like, I don't know, like write articles? Like, what did they want you to do?
No, again, so everything I've ever done in my life has to do with the human. So it's basically making sure that everybody knows where they're going, who has rides to the gym, back to the hotel, who's going to check the rooms to wake up, who's doing wake up calls in the morning when people aren't on the bus. Parents are calling, asking, if their child has eaten, what kind of food are they eating, going to get the food, going to make copies, directing coaches, directing players, directing media, giving people credentials, like anything just to make the camp go. That's kind of what I did at Pangos, and a lot of people that work at Pangos, that's what they will do. Now, there are the on-court things. I never wanted to deal with the on-court because everyone's competing for that, but I also think that that's short-lived. I think that the more values when it comes to the human aspect, and that's kind of how I found my niche, is just being able to provide a great experience with, a certain brand or a company or whatever I'm associated with. So no matter what company I work for or who I work with, you're always going to get the best Shea Dawson experience. So I think just being a person to have accountability for what we're doing as a company, what we're doing as people, those people helping you on the ground, and then also just pointing you in the right direction, making sure my information is solid.
So would you say like you're also more of I guess you could say like logistics, I guess maybe like some sort of operations kind of thing too, like you want to make sure everything's like stuff like that?
Yes, very, very operational when it comes to getting things done, keeping things on time, getting players where they need to, kind of just having that hustle and bustle mentality. So yeah, definitely operations, basketball operations is kind of what I call it.
Yeah. It's called like a dobo, is like how you said they call it like the PD. That's what they just call them dobos. So and then when you were at the summer league, were you kind of doing like the similar kind of operations thing too, or what were you doing? Like
actually, I was operations, but it was more game operations. So it was the producing of the entertainment in house. So that was finding talent for the halftime show, going in the stands, getting comments and quotes from fans, how they enjoyed the summer league, what could be better, reading off the announcements and the advertising, the people that were spending money to make to make the summer league profitable. So so learning about the back end. So I was also handling the rookies. So that was my favorite part, was taking the rookies through their little like a little carousel of like, you got to visit the Panini cards and sign, you got to put the game worn jersey on and take it off, you got to go to this sponsor and say these 2 lines. So their obligations to the NBA and to the summer league, I was helping them through that and kind of navigating and explaining to them what all that stuff was, because again, they're just doing what they're told and they don't ask a lot of questions because they're just happy to be there and happy to be drafted on the team. And that's where I also saw value. It's like, they need to know what they're doing and why they're doing it. That way they'll want to do it more and be more enthusiastic about it. And so that's kind of another thing that I kind of taken on my own responsibility and saying, this is a part of the job that I'm gonna develop, and they know that I'm gonna be a trusted resource. They're not gonna go into a room and be asked crazy questions or do anything crazy, because I'll actually be like, no, he's not doing that. So yeah, just being that ear for them and being that voice for them.
And you did say kind of how I guess the Pangos thing, and you were able to, I guess, make some connection with the NBA, which then brought you to the summer league, and something that I guess I'm trying to work on a little bit. However, I guess I was told like I'm really not doing anything wrong. It's almost like coincidence, but with building connections, like I feel like my weakness is like with the follow-up kind of thing. Like out of all the guys I've really interviewed that don't live like in my area, I think there's only maybe like a couple that I really keep like, or I guess I would honestly say like one, like I really keep like good contact with. The rest, like I was kind of like through like I guess I try to make it happen naturally too much. 'Cause I feel like I think a follow-up, I say, hey, what's up? Like, how's it going? Like, good. How about you? Like, good. But then like I don't know, like, is that kind of all it is? And just keep like doing that a bunch of times, or like how do you really like what's like the best way to follow up? Because I would expect like talk to a lot of people. Like I would think I maybe have like a little more I guess buddies maybe. But yeah, like what's your advice like to be a good follow up and like how to really go through that process?
I would say, I mean, a lot of athletes like passive communication. So if you're just celebrating them, like let's say you want to just honor them on your channels.
Oh yeah, that's what I do. Like as well. Like, usually, sometimes what I'll do is like I'll say, oh, like congratulations on this or that, and that's
That's
also
how
something.
Yeah, because sometimes people don't have time to talk and have a long, drawn out conversation, but just showing that you're noticing them and that you're still following them and that you're still supporting them. And the fact that you've been there since day one, on their journey and you're still there, that holds a lot of weight.
Well, I guess like a lot of them aren't really from day one. Like there's not many players because they're all pretty established. Like obviously they're not NBA players.
But they're not pros yet.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. I feel like now that's kind of where almost overtime elite comes into play. Is like like Amanda Nassar. I guess maybe starting in we'll say December this year, or no, like October of this year. Once they kind of like in the board league and stuff like that. Like I wouldn't say like I was from the day one. Like I mean I knew who they were before too many people did. And then I met them before they got like the Kansas offer and all that stuff. So I would say I'm more like a day 3 kind of guy, maybe not too crazy.
And if you want to coin a new term where it's like, I think that's cool. I think that's part of the world that I love is that you can create what you want. But I say, when I say day one, I just mean before they were pros, before they were making lots of money and on billboards and stuff. So I think anytime you can find value in people before they pop off or they get really big, I think that means a lot because, it's just, you remember those moments that got you to where you are. And so as an elite athlete or celebrity or superstar, it's like, you do always want to reach back to people who were in your corner since you started that whole journey. And so I think what you're doing is valuable. Like I said, I watched your interviews through Gus Bus and you just being able to ask Gus those questions, to talk about, how he used to be in the game and how he's evolved and how he does things differently.
I remember asking that question. I remember you told me that. I was like, wait, I asked him. That's
what I was looking for as someone who was researching him and trying to get to know him. So hearing you ask that and hearing him say that, I attached to him a little bit more. I'm already a Gus Bus fan. But because of that, I just wanted to go deeper and I wanted to learn more about, his beginning of his experience and where he is now. And you see him now and he's killing it. And so you have a part in that, you know what I mean? In asking those questions. So I think what you're doing is super valuable.
Yeah. So I'm curious because like the thing is, like a lot of these players, even though like even like Mikey Williams, like he's not a pro, but he is definitely not like if let's say I met Mikey like tomorrow. That's not like I believe this is day one because you're not a pro. Like a lot of these guys, and even ones that, maybe have, let's say 10,000 followers, like 10 on Instagram are verified. Like I don't know. I feel like a lot of players, there's a lot of very humble guys, a lot of very surprisingly humble guys, but there's also a lot of very, very big attitudes. So what's kind of like because I feel like a lot of the guys, like a lot of them do act like, oh, he's not with me from day one. Like I'm basically a pro now. So what's kind of your opinion on that? Because that is like a lot of personalities that I feel like I deal with. Is I would say it's like, I wouldn't say it's more cockiness and humbleness. I would say it's more of like a mixture of almost like both. So yeah.
And I just think that it's about protection. You have to protect who you are. There's a lot of people out there who want to know you and poke you and touch you and see you and they don't really want it for they don't really want it for your benefit. They want it for their benefit. So they can say, I did this to so-and-so. I got them riled up. I got them to say this. And so a lot of athletes are protective of who they are and letting people in. And I think they have the right to do that. And I think people who are supporters or fans of them should respect that. If they want to interact with you, great, they will. If not, they're going to be standoffish. They're going to be short with you until they feel or see you doing things that they deem as like, okay, that person's a solid person. So like, again, like I say, like you have to sow good seeds to them. So you have to be a good person because you are a good person. You can't just be putting your best foot forward because you want them to be in your presence or you want them to do an interview. You have to show good work. And I think your page shows good work. And so when you DM players, they look and see, he's done a great job.
You would be surprised actually, like with Mikey Williams specifically. After I interviewed him, I thought that, and when I was at Hoopsgiving the whole time, I thought that would be a big stepping stone. And actually, like I came back and I maybe because of the high school season, a little bit, it was a little more difficult. But I thought for sure, after interviewing Mikey Williams, Jay Davidson, Jabari Smith Jr., who's one of the most humble guys I ever met, by the way. That guy is insanely humble. But like, after interviewing all these big names, Nolan Hickman, who's now committed to Gonzaga, I thought for sure, all right, that's gonna be my credibility. But nope, it was even worse than before. So it's a crazy. Crazy.
You don't get credibility from doing that. You get credibility from being sustainable, like being consistent. Like one day you're gonna wake up and you're gonna be like, wow, I did all those interviews. And again, people go back and watch old interviews, like I told you, like I did. You go down a rabbit hole. So I don't think it's about credibility. I think it's about you just continuing to do good work. Like you being persistent with me and continuing to say, hey, can we talk? Can we talk? And I'm busy too. Like I have a full-time job. I'm doing lots of things. I take care of my household. Like I got a lot of stuff going on. But the fact that you were consistent and persistent with what you wanted to do, I was like, fine, let's do it. Like,
it was definitely a long process.
That matters. And sometimes people say, oh, well, they're big time because they're not hitting me back. No, people have things to do. So if you want that person, you continue to follow up. And obviously they'll let you know, like, dude, I don't want to do your interview, or Shea, I don't want to talk to you. And then I'll be like, all right, cool. Like, I get it. But like persistence is a good thing because it keeps people in check.
So I guess because the thing is, like, sometimes you think, all right, they're not responding to me. Maybe they just don't, they just don't want to do it. Would you say just obviously don't be persistent every single day, but like, would you say maybe just, keep being persistent until they say like, no, I don't want to?
Yeah. I think it could be from exhaustion too. Like, I don't want to doesn't mean I don't like you. I don't want to means I don't want to do it right now. Or I'm shy. Or I don't want to mess up on camera. Or I'm training. Like it, and so a lot of that stuff, sometimes it's just like, I don't want to put myself out there. I'm not that type of person. I'm an introvert. And so sometimes, like I said, like humanizing athletes is so important because a lot of athletes, just because they play sports and you see them on your screen, on your phone, a lot of them are shy. A lot of them haven't had a chance to be outside of a sports bubble, to know how to communicate, to know how to show up on camera, to be energetic. So we have to give them grace and have patience and follow up later on. I didn't get you 2 years ago, but I'm DMing you 2 years, ahead now. And like, hey, I DM'd you 2 years ago. You didn't respond. Just checking back in to see if you want to do this. I constantly follow up with people, in gaps because again, like I have to give everyone grace. I know I go through things. I know I don't want to be on camera sometimes. So just give me grace. And that's what I do to other people.
Yeah. My one thing though, to people that are like, no, like, I'm shy. Like, I don't want to, like, I'm too nervous to be interviewed. My one thing is like, I am not ESPN or anything. So it's like, and if you're the, the athlete that, you're supposed to be like, you're that high level, like you're going to go Division I, you're, maybe you're that good, you're going to go to overtime elite or something like that. You are going to be on camera and ask questions. So might as well act like an idiot on my interview where you see we have 0 viewers right now. Like no small chance a lot of people watch this thing. Like might as well get all the jitters out for nothing is going to happen. Like it's like I treat it more as like a practice, and that's my whole pitch. Like if I'm like, no, I'm scared, I'm like you're going to be doing it soon, so might as well mess up where it doesn't matter and then be ready,
But you have to be careful with that thought process because if it lives on the internet, it never goes away. And so if you say things, people like to go back in history and troll.
I could always delete it. Like if I have to delete it, like I could.
But you never know who can see it. So I'm just saying, be careful with that thought process. If you want to get them, you can say we don't have to record it. We'll just do a practice. Yeah. I mean, you could, like I said, give them grace. And sometimes you just want to be sure that what you're going to say is going to be received well and not going to be taken out of context, because that happens a lot. And a lot more with social media and seeing NBA players speaking out about the media and stuff like that. It just causes kind of fear. And when you have fear, that's what you get. So you just have to, like you explain it, how you explain it. If they want to accept, great. If not, I'll follow up with you in a couple months or whatever,
I do like that idea. Like, see, I'm glad, like, I really just learned something because, it definitely sounds like a better approach. Like, we could just do it. Like, I literally don't need to record it all. That's definitely like a smart thing for sure. Yeah. I definitely like that idea. I was a good, I think
you'll get that good relationship. Yeah. It'll become a relationship
experience.
Yep.
But yeah, but anyways, just kind of maybe a good like final like recap question kind of thing. Like again, maybe a little cheesy. Like, what would be your advice to just anybody trying to break through in the industry and stuff like that?
It's kind of crazy because in sports there's not a cookie cutter situation, but you have to continue to put yourself in the environment where the movers and shakers are. So you have to travel outside your comfort zone. You have to go to Pangos and work for free. You have, if there's an opportunity, you have to be DMing, Pangos All-American Camp and saying, is there any opportunities? Wherever there are potential pros, wherever there are GMs or NBA scouts or any of that, if that's what you want to work in, you have to put yourself in that environment. And you have to know that I might come out with one phone number or I might come out with 10. I don't know. Or maybe you come out with 0, but you keep trying. And I think that's kind of what I've learned on my path. I didn't strike gold in my first one, but I knew what I was doing. I was fulfilled by it. I knew that I was fulfilled by being, with the people and speaking for them and doing things for them and going to Kinko's, even though I wasn't getting paid for that. I think all that kind of stuff, you just have to be in it for the right reasons and it'll lead to good things. Like I said, sow good seeds, do a good job when someone asks you to do something. Reach out to people, ask for informational interviews, connect with people. Like you already have a product. So if you wanted someone to help you or, bring a brand partner in and you're partnering with somebody.
I'm open to it, but.
Exactly. You already have a product. So you're already doing something. So I would say you already have to be doing something for other people to take interest in you. You can't have 0 anything. You can't just say, hey, I want to work in sports. And they're going to be like, well, what are you doing? And I can say with you, Isaac, Isaac has a whole page dedicated to it. He's reaching out to people. He's fielding his own talent. He's editing his own videos. Like that kind of stuff is valuable and that I can invest in. So as somebody who's already established in the industry, I'm looking for people who are go-getters and already doing things in the industry. So
yeah. And again, if anyone ends up watching like the end of this thing, like I just want to validate what you said, because like even for me, I probably had once in a lifetime experience. I got to go to Geico Nationals. It was in Fort Myers, which is like about an hour and a half away from my house. So I had to stay in a hotel with my dad, but that's like a once in a lifetime experience. And I don't think I really got out of it like what I really wanted to, but then it's like at the same time, more just now understanding kind of how it works, like a little bit. Like actually I got a few phone numbers, but one ended up not working. So that was a little disappointing, but it's like, it was more like, again, I probably will never see these people ever again. I just should maybe be taking advantage of other opportunities, but it's more like just being a little more, I'm just a little more comfortable now in a setting like that where, I might now know how to really talk to these people and stuff like that. So even though, I didn't get exactly what I wanted out of it, like I could see there was definitely at least some growth that was done at that event. So yeah, what you said was definitely true for sure.
Yeah. And the more you go, the more people recognize you. Sometimes you just showing up year by year, standing at the same place at the Geico National, players will start to see like, oh, he's somebody. He's here every year. You know what I'm saying? And just showing up for yourself, sometimes it pays a lot. You don't realize it at the time, but then people are going to be like, oh, I saw you there. Like that happens to me a lot.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Shea? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh, I saw you. And I'm like, oh, you should have said something. They're like, oh, I didn't know. But even them saying that to me, now I'm more open to talking to them.
It's all about showing a face. It's all about just showing a face and being like, I'm hoping I see these people again and they recognize me, but like, if not, like, and that's why, like, luckily I have like a shirt, my logo on it, like huge. So it's pretty easy. Like I was watching, I saw a picture of Ryan Nembard and being interviewed, and it was me. I saw myself in the background of it, like, just standing up and stuck out like crazy. So that was pretty cool.
That's
for sure.
Cool. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, just all about showing a face. But anyways, really, really appreciate you for your time. A lot of insight, a lot of that stuff. Your career and everything sounds extremely, extremely interesting. Wish you nothing but success. I'm sure it's going to be, a long, successful road ahead for sure. But anyways, make sure you guys give us a follow on Instagram at Overtime Shea, and Hoops FL. And anyways, for the head of athlete relations at Overtime, Shea Dawson, I'm Isaac Fleischer, and this has been another IHOOPS FL interview. Peace out, guys.
Later.